Hello everybody and welcome to a brand new Elder Scrolls Online Let's Talk video with me, Sherman. Today guys, just doing a kind of a quick video talking about builds and why my builds are different from others. A lot of the times why, because I get asked all the time, why don't you use more trial sets? Why don't you use different, why don't you follow the meta? And I'll be honest with you, I don't for a reason. One, I'm a big proprietor, I guess you could say, of the idea that the developers have of play how you want. And a lot of this comes from my background. I have years of experience playing games like Ultima Online, Lord of the Rings Online, Star Wars The Old Republic, World of Warcraft, EverQuest, EverQuest 2, Vanguard. The list goes on. And a lot of games, okay? Not just MMOs, though, either. Because I played a lot of pen and paper games, too, like Palladium games, GURPS, World of Warcraft, the role-playing game, Warhammer, the role-playing game, or Fantasy Warhammer, the role-playing pen and paper game, Dungeons & Dragons, Cyberpunk, Shadowrun, just tons of different games. And so I've talked about this in the past where I get my inspiration for builds is a lot of times I'm inspired by other things to create the kind of builds I want to make. A friend of mine asked me, can you make a build like Bjorn from Lord of the Rings? And so I made a werewolf build that was like this, that type of build, that type of character, And I didn't do it because I had to. I did it because I wanted to. That it's those kind of things that encourage me to see what kind of boundaries the game has. Like, how far can I push a character? But a lot of it also, like here recently, my inspiration has come from Warhammer Online, the Return of Reckoning private server, which is legit. I can talk about it. So, but a lot of my inspiration has been coming from there, and that's because of the way the game is designed. And I want to talk about this because it plays a lot into the idea of build diversity, even in ESO. See, when you play a game that gives you that kind of inspiration to create a build, like say this character here, which is the Chaos Knight, which is from Warhammer. It's based on the Chosen over there. It doesn't play the same, but it plays a lot alike because of what it does. See, I chose to base this on the Chosen Disruptor tank, and I know a lot of people are going to be like, what's that? Well, there's 3 types of tanks you can play as a Chosen. There's the Bruiser tank, there's a tank, and then there is the Disruptor tank. The Disruptor tank is more of like a debuffer, buffer for the group, and it's made to work that way in all aspects of the game. PvE, PvP, and even the dungeons and the stuff like that, the world boss encounters, everything. Now, it doesn't do a ton of damage, but it's not meant to. The idea of it is to bring all these buffs and debuffs to your group to give your group a more effective, experience. So, and a lot of people don't look at that. What a lot of people look at in ESO is, well, we can create these builds for trials that are just super DPS builds, and these tank builds that are just tank, support builds. And we can create these healers, which are just like heal bots. Pretty much that's what they are. And it works, but the game allows that. Okay? The game allows that kind of structure because it's designed to allow that kind of structure. It's designed to allow flexibility. So I get asked all the time, why do you always give tanks DPS sets? I don't just play one aspect of content in the game. I don't focus on just being a tank. You know, when I play a tank character, I'm not just doing tanking. I'm not just tanking a certain aspect of the game. I'm not tanking PvE. I'm not tanking just PvP. I'm not just tanking dungeons or trials. I'm tanking everything. Like, I tank every aspect of the game. So it also brings around, like, you know, like when I was talking about sets, when people talk about, like, Sherman, why are you using Stonehusk? Why are you using Gladiators? Why are you using the Radiant Bastion? I like these sets on this build. And the reason why is because how they play with the build. See, you look at it and you go, okay, so what's the build have skill-wise that could play into those sets really well? Well, let's take a look at one of my skills, and that is Hardened Armor. So the shield, while active, or this buff, while active, my armor returns 657 magic damage to any enemy that uses a direct damage attack against me in melee range. So that means if an enemy is 5 feet away from me and they hit me with a melee attack, they're going to take 657 magic damage. Well, guess what else they're going to take? They're going to take up to 4,250 physical damage. You know what else I can do? I can even go down here to the Undaunted line, grab Spikebone Shield, put it on my front bar instead of Igneous Shield. Now, any damage I take, direct damage, they're going to be taking a crap ton of damage in return. Magical, physical, and now this. And this is a synergy. So it works in a group scenario, both in PvE and in PvP. See, what a lot of people don't look at, and I think it's the downfall of, not necessarily, like, downfall is a big word for what I'm trying to explain, but I think it's what hurts the game, is people don't look at every aspect. Somebody asked me about a week ago, why do you unlock all these skills, like show all these skills unlocked and passives when you're only using what's on the toolbar? I only use what's on the toolbar as a recommended. That's just recommended use of skills. Because you have to remember, a build is only a template. It's just a guide that says, hey, if you're going to play this build, these are the skills that are best used for this purpose. But when you're not using them for that purpose, you have access to all these other skills, all these other passives that you can take advantage of. There's a reason why they give you the ability to learn or earn 426 skill points. It's so you can unlock new tools to use in different environments, for different reasons, for different situations. It's the same thing with sets and the tools that they give you in the game. It's to give you a variety of options to create the kind of character you want to play. But it's also there so you have access to other tools to use. Like, I could use Molten Armaments to buff my group's DPS, their spell and weapon damage, without the use of potions, and I can keep it up non-stop. The nice thing is that my own damage, heavy attacks, are increased by 50%. So now my sword attacks, when I use my light and heavy attacks, let's say, with this, I'm doing a hell of a lot more damage. Especially if I crit. And then on top of that, if I have major fracture or major breach on him, I can get even more damage out of it. So that means I'm going to do more damage. Now you got to remember, a target dummy is just that. It's a dummy. It doesn't fight back. It doesn't do anything. It's basically there to test things with, like, different rotations or different combat situations, things like that. You can see here, I've done a bunch of different tests with different setups, using different skills and abilities, just to see what kind of DPS I can pull with this with different skills before I even started this video. So the other thing you have to look at is when you have access to multiple of skills, skill types, skill uses, that say you're not using certain ones all the time, but you're using other ones in again in different situations. Like I might use protective plate in PvP, but not PvE. Well, why would I do that? Because this reduces damage taken from projectile attacks by 50%. In PvP, I'm going to get attacked by archers, spellcasters, all kinds of stuff. This is great. And then on top of that, it makes me immune to snares and immobilize for 2 seconds, which a lot of those people are going to be using on me. So for PvP, protective plate is a good skill to have. Same thing when you look at something like the Undaunted skill. Why would I use NRBs? This is a ranged taunt. I already have a taunt. It's right here. Well, that's in case I want to use this along with this. Why do I have Sanguine Altar unlocked? Why do I have any skill unlocked? It's so I have it when I need it. And I get asked all the time, why do you do all these different things? Well, one of the things is, like I explained in the beginning, I have a different background to games. One of the games I've been playing lately is Warhammer Online. With that, they have different play styles. Like, you could create an Ironbreaker over there. Well, an Ironbreaker's classification is tank. But they have 3 archetypes. One of their archetypes is something that's called well, I forget what it is, but it's like a 2-handed axe wielder, or a 2-handed weapon wielder. They're damage dealers. That's their role. Then they have another one, which is a tank role, which is using sword and shield, and then they have another one, which is like a disruptor role. Again, why have these 3 roles, and all 3 roles have access to a core ability called Taunt? Well, this would be considered a core ability, because everyone has access to it. Dragon Knights are the only ones access to the Dragon Knight skills. A Templar can't use Dragon Knight skills, but they can use all the same weapon skills, armor skills, world skills, guild skills, alliance that you can use. And even some of the crafting passives, like alchemy and medicinal use in alchemy and provisioning in gourmet and connoisseur. Everyone has access to those core game abilities. Class abilities are separate. So if you have the access to the same abilities I do on your class, because you're playing the same class as me, then you can use the same skills as me. You could use the same sets as me. And this is a question I got asked the other day. Do I have to use, or I can't, I like the build, but I can't play it because I don't have those sets. Because I only have access to Morrowind and the base game. Well, here's the secret to that. A build is just a template. It's just a guide. Again, it's nothing that is set in stone. Like, you do not have to follow it 100%. If you wanted to, you could change these sets out, the gear sets, to anything that even resembles it. You could use Hunting's Rage instead of Kvetch's Gladiator, or you could ask somebody to craft you Kvetch's Gladiator. With this set, Radiant Bastion, you can actually buy this set because it's a drop set in the game, and somebody can sell it on the auction house. So you can still get this set. This is the only set you wouldn't be able to get, but then you have access to every base game monster set and Morrowind. Morrowind just has drop sets, but you have access to any of the base game monster sets. And any of the base game monster sets that you would want to use with this, you could. Whether it's a healer type one, a damage dealer type one, whatever it might be, you could use it. As long as you're using a active tool that activates it. So if it's like something like you got to deal direct damage, or you got to do a light attack on an enemy, heavy attack, you got to do this, or this. Like, as long as you have the tool to do what the hell the set says, you can use it. And you can take advantage of it for that purpose. So there's a lot of different things that you can do with any build you see that is shared by the content creators out there, or the builders out there. There's so much you can do. And that brings me back to the discussion at hand, is like, why do I create? Why are my builds so different than everybody else's? How many content creators cover in-game dungeons or trial play? The in-game hardcore trial play. A lot. In fact, if you go look online, 90% of content creators focus on the in-game play. They focus on the trial play, or they focus on PvP in-game play. And that's the people who focus on those game environments. Playing in PvP primarily, playing in trials primarily. Not playing overland, not playing against world bosses, not playing in minor groups, doing different activities, but playing in focused groups or focused gameplay types. They're not all around players. Some of them are, but they focus into one area. I mean, you could take Hack the Minotaur, who I respect immensely for the work he does, and still to this day respect every build he releases, because he doesn't follow the standard. But he creates a lot of solo builds which are really good and are fantastically well put together. So it's and you really have to look at those things and say, hey, like, if this build's that good, how would it work in this scenario? Like, how would it work in a PvP setting versus PvE? Will that one bar build, can I take it into PvP and still be just as effective? Or how would I do that? And he does answer those questions sometimes when people ask. And he'll even suggest other sets to use and things like that, because he has that same mindset of, like, a template is an idea, it's a guide to show you how you can play. It's not necessarily like you have to play it this way. And a lot of times even high-end content creators make that mistake of saying, oh, this is the best build, period. But then they'll share other ways to play that build with lesser sets or lesser builds, and say those ones are effective to get you to this point. And that's what I do, is I share my idea of, like, what you can use to get from to where you want to be in the game, to have the build you want to play. And I just give you a tool to guide you. Does it have to be golded out? No. You could have this in blue gear for all I care. You could have this in green gear. It's still going to do its job. But the better the quality of gear, the more effective it becomes. Because that changes the overall effectiveness. Like enchants. You can use green enchants on a purple piece. You can use blue enchants on a purple piece. You can use gold enchants on a purple piece. And you can do that, and that'll give you that benefit. And that's what's so good about ESO's design, and this is why I respect what the devs have done with this game so much. And I still think the game is super flawed. I do. Like, I think the dailies are flawed, big time. I think PvP's flawed in the way that Cyrodiil PvP works. I think that, I honestly think that PvP, like the Three Banner War, should be over. Like, we should be on to a new war system. Like, why are we still fighting the Three Banner War when what instigated the Three Banner War is done and over with? So there's a lot of things there that I think need to be looked at, but it's not for this video. So, again, I get asked this stuff all the time. Why do you use these skills? Why do you use, these armor sets? It's because I don't play the same content they do. I don't focus into just trials, or just dungeons, or just PvP. So I try to create builds that are kind of universal and allow for a lot of flexibility in how people play. Whether it's doing dungeons, doing trials, and not necessarily veteran hard mode stuff, but like normal and veteran mode. things that where you're going to learn the process, so you can determine for yourself, like, is any of these trial sets gonna work for this build that I'm playing, that I got from Sherman's Gaming, or I got from Hack the Minotaur, I got from Alcast, or I got from, you know, any of the thousands of other content creators out there doing ESO content. Like, the point, though, and the point here is that you're gonna play how you want. So when somebody gives you more options and allows you to see the options available, you can say, oh, like, that's a cool idea. I wonder if it would work for my character, or my build. Or, I like the concept, I don't like the sets. You know, I like the skill layout, I like the CP setup, I don't like the sets. Or I like the sets, I don't like the skill layout, and the CP setup could be adjusted. That's what these are there for. So you can make the adjustments yourself to your playstyle. Like, if you like doing dungeons and trials, there's a ton of guides out there that explain how to set your CP for that purpose. Nephis has a great, fantastic guide for that, that focuses on how to set your CP for doing just that. Doing trials. And you can change the CP from, with even this kind of a setup, to what he uses, and you're still going to have decent setup for even overland. Your DPS is just going to drop. It's not going to drop massively. It's going to drop some. So, but you can still use it, even in overland. Or you can just go, well, you know, it's 3,000 gold, I'll just switch between the two. When I'm not tanking trials, I'll just use this setup for when I'm doing PvP, or doing PvE. I'll use this setup for PvP, I'll use this setup for trials, and this one for dungeons, and all that kind of stuff. I think that's why they made the CP system so universal, is so we have that ability to kind of just switch our characters around a little bit easier. The same thing with swapping skills. We don't have to pay to swap skills. We just learn the new skills. But that means we have to go out and earn the skill points to do that. And with all the content in the game that you get skill points from dungeons, to trials, to overland quests, to levels, to PvP, you know, like certain aspects of the game, and getting all these... and I say PvP because Sky Shards are in Cyrodiil and Imperial City and all that, so there's that, and you still have to play those aspects of the game. But it doesn't mean, like, if you go to Cyrodiil to get the Sky Shards, it doesn't mean you're going there to play PvP. You're still going to be doing PvE to get Sky Shards, because most of the Sky Shards are in PvE environments, sometimes PvP, so you gotta kind of mix it up, and you gotta figure out how you're gonna do that, and that's what I love about ESO, is there's so many different ways to play. And again, why I create the kind of builds I do. I don't like to focus on this idea of, like, oh, you're restricted, sorry, you can't play this build any other way. No, I like to say, hey, here's here's what I suggest you use on your toolbar, and here's what I suggest you unlock. Like, if I did a video, and I have tested this idea of doing a video explaining every skill, every passive I have unlocked and why, and then, like, in detail on every build, the video length is over an hour long. So I'm like, how do I shorten it? Okay, I just tell them, like, unlock all your skills that you want to use. Unlock your passives. That's just easier than going through that whole process. The same thing goes with sets. When I talk about sets, I show you the sets I suggest you use with the build. It doesn't mean you have to. And so these are suggestions. Just like with the potions and the food I suggest. Use Tri-Stat food. Use tripods. Like, you can do that. Like, you can choose what you want to use with that build. Like, that's your choice. Like, you don't have to play it exactly like I do. So, but yeah, I do love this game for, like I said, the diversity and all that kind of stuff. And I do spend a lot of time focused in everything most of the time, because I have 12 characters. Not all 12 of my characters have every skill I want them to have. They don't have, every possible like setup that I could possibly want them to have. So being able to play the game to have some damage capabilities, so it's easier to get the content done for PvE, and then if I want to do PvP, I can go do it, and I'm not being held back by a bunch of stuff. I just change a few skills out, maybe change my CP, and then I just go play. And I notice a lot of times when I do that, like my gaming experience is 100 times better than what it was in the past. So it's like, yeah, I'll take that over this any day. So yeah, I like to do different things. And I would suggest you do the same. Like when you do a CP setup for PvP, find that CP setup for PvP that works for you. Like when I do PvP, I actually take out a Bastion, the 40 points, and I put it into Expert Defender. So I'll show you what that looks like so you can see. So I'll take the 40 points out of here, and I'll put the, not necessarily 40 points, but most of the time I'll do like 35 points. And then I'll take these other points, the other 5 points I have, and I'll split it up between the spell shield and heavy armor focus. In this case, I would probably put this up to 40 and put the 3 in here, so that way my CP stays within range of each other. But now in the CP, I've got this extra damage mitigation from light and heavy attacks. I've got 20% damage mitigation, that's gonna improve my survivability in PvP a lot better from players. But it's only from player light and heavy attacks. So when I'm not doing PvP again, I just go in here, I say confirm, take the points out of here. I know that I put 5 points, so I take the 3 out of here and the 2 out of here, like that, and I just put the rest back in the Bastion. 40 points, boom, done. And then I can go back to playing PvE as a tank, or I can play PvE as a DPS, or I can do whatever, because I'm not having to change a lot of stuff. I just change that one purpose kind of thing. Sometimes I might even take this 40 points and split it between Expert Defender and Resistance. Like I'll take Expert Defender up to 10% and then put more into Resistance, so I get that higher critical resist. Because I play CP PvP. I don't play the no CP PvP. And it's not because I don't like no CP PvP. It's because I have these tools. I want to use them in all aspects of the game. So including PvE and PvP. I want to take advantage of it. So. But that's pretty much it. I mean, I could go into a lot more, trust me. But I don't want to make this video too long. So we're going to go ahead and close it out by leaving you guys with that. So, hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you did, you guys know what's coming next. Go ahead and hit that like button. If you guys want to see more videos by me, you can subscribe. And also make sure when you do subscribe to click the notification bell to be notified when I post new videos. Other than that, I want to thank you all for watching. Until next time, have a wonderful day. And this guy might see you in game. Bye.